On October 29, 2023, the Republic of Turkey celebrated a century since its founding. This marked the end of over 600 years of Ottoman imperial rule, which at its zenith in the mid-16th century stretched across vast swaths of the Middle East, North Africa, and Eastern Europe. But how did this empire, arising from the modest beginnings of a small principality in northwestern Anatolia, come to dominate the world stage? And what led to its eventual demise? This is the story of the Ottoman Empire. To understand the rise of the Ottomans, we must first journey back in time to the migrations of the Turkic peoples from Eastern Asia. Centuries before the Ottoman Empire, the Turks, originating from northeastern Asia, embarked on a western migration across the vast Eurasian steppe. By the 7th century, they had reached the Altai Mountains near the borders of modern-day Russia, Kazakhstan, and Mongolia. Their westward journey continued over the following centuries. A significant group, the Oghuz Turks, settled in a semi-nomadic lifestyle around the Caspian and Aral Seas. In the late 10th century, a leader named Seljuk from the Oghuz tribe broke away and established his own dynasty. This marked the beginning of the Seljuk Empire. The Seljuks expanded into Persia, embracing Persian language culture and converting to Islam. By the 1060s, they reached the borders of the Byzantine Empire in western Anatolia. The clash between these two powers culminated in the Battle of Manzikert in 1071. The Seljuks decisively defeated the Byzantine army at Manzikert. This victory opened the gates to the Near East and allowed them to penetrate deeper into what is now Turkey. However, the Seljuk Empire gradually fragmented into smaller Turkish states over the next 2 centuries. Despite this fragmentation, the Turkish presence in Anatolia remained strong, particularly in the form of the Sultanate of Rum. However, by the turn of the 14th century, even the Sultanate of Rum declined, giving rise to even smaller principalities known as the Anatolian Beyliks scattered across the region. It was from amongst these beyliks in northwestern Turkey that a warlord emerged destined to establish the Ottoman Empire. While historical sources about his life and reign are limited, he is recognized as the founder of the dynasty that bears his name, Osman. The century following Osman's reign was marked by the Ottomans' relentless drive to conquer the remnants of the once mighty Byzantine Empire. By the 14th century, the Byzantine Empire had been reduced to the southern Balkans, mainland Greece, the Greek islands, and a small territory in Turkey. Their capital, Constantinople, remained a formidable city, a symbol of their past glory and resilience. But the Ottomans knew that to extend beyond northwestern Turkey, they needed to capture this prized jewel of the Byzantine Empire. The Ottomans took a major step toward their goal in 1331, when they conquered the city of Nicaea. In 1369, they captured Adrianople, a strategically important city located just 200 kilometers from Constantinople. Adrianople briefly served as the Ottoman capital while they consolidated their gains in Serbia and Bulgaria. The early 15th century witnessed a period of internal turmoil within the Ottoman Empire. However, in 1451, Mehmed II ascended to the throne, determined to finally capture Constantinople. In April 1453, he laid siege to the city, an event that would mark a turning point in history. The siege of Constantinople was a monumental clash of civilizations. For 7 weeks, the Ottoman forces bombarded the city walls with cannons, relentlessly trying to breach the defenses. The Byzantines, under the command of Emperor Constantine XI, fought valiantly, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. On May 29, 1453, the Ottoman forces breached the walls of Constantinople, pouring into the city. Emperor Constantine XI, the last of the Byzantine emperors, fell in battle, marking the end of the Byzantine Empire. Constantinople, the city that had stood for over 1,000 years, now belonged to the Ottomans. The conquest of Constantinople was a defining moment, symbolizing the end of one era and the dawn of another. Mehmed II transformed the city into the capital of his burgeoning empire and renamed it Istanbul. The iconic Hagia Sophia, the magnificent cathedral built by Emperor Justinian in the 6th century, was converted into a mosque, signifying the Ottoman triumph. The fall of Constantinople reverberated throughout Europe and the Mediterranean world. The Ottoman Empire, no longer a regional power, had announced its arrival on the world stage. The capture of Constantinople was just the beginning of their remarkable expansion. Under a succession of powerful sultans, the Ottoman Empire embarked on an era of unprecedented growth, extending their reach across 3 continents. Mehmed II, after conquering Constantinople, continued his expansion. He quickly subjugated Morea in Greece and the Empire of Trebizond in northern Turkey. His armies then marched into the Balkans, conquering Bosnia. By the time he died in 1481, Mehmed II had extended the Ottoman Empire into southern and eastern Turkey, added Albania to his domain, and even established an Ottoman presence on the Crimean Peninsula through an expedition. His successor, Bayezid II, proved to be an equally formidable leader. During his 30-year reign, Bayezid II further expanded the empire. He annexed territories in Syria and the Levant, consolidating his control over the region after defeating the Mamluks of Egypt in a war for regional dominance. Bayezid II also strengthened Ottoman control over the Aegean Sea by engaging in a series of battles against the Republic of Venice, which at that time controlled many of the islands and vital trade routes in the region. This conflict, lasting from 1499 to 1503, solidified the Ottoman presence in the eastern Mediterranean. Even though Suleiman ruled for only 8 years, from 1512 to 1520, his reign was marked by rapid expansion. Suleiman set his sights on North Africa, achieving a stunning series of conquests. In 1517, his armies crushed the Mamluks at the Battle of Radanya, bringing Egypt and much of Libya under Ottoman control. Harun Barbarossa, who ruled over Algeria and Tunisia, shrewdly chose to become an Ottoman vassal in 1519, further expanding Ottoman influence across North Africa. The most celebrated sultan of the Ottoman Empire, Suleiman the Magnificent, ushered in the empire's golden age. His reign, spanning half a century from 1520 to 1566, witnessed the Ottoman Empire reach its zenith, becoming one of the world's most powerful empires. Suleiman the Magnificent's military campaigns extended the empire's boundaries across vast distances. He conquered large parts of the Balkans, laying siege to Vienna in 1529. Although the siege of Vienna proved unsuccessful, it demonstrated the extent of Ottoman ambition and power. Suleiman's conquests extended beyond Europe. He captured the island of Rhodes from the Knights of St. John in 1522, ending their centuries-long presence in the eastern Mediterranean. In 1551, he added Tripoli in North Africa to the empire. Suleiman's campaigns also led to Ottoman expansion into the Arabian Peninsula and Iraq. By the end of his reign, the Ottoman Empire stretched from Hungary in the north to Yemen in the south, and from Algeria in the west to the shores of the Caspian Sea in the east. The Ottoman Empire's military prowess was a key factor in its remarkable expansion. Their army, renowned for its organization, discipline, and adaptability, combined the strengths of infantry, cavalry, and artillery in a way that few could match. At the heart of this military machine were the Janissaries, an elite corps of soldiers unlike any other in the world. The Janissaries were originally Christian boys, primarily from the Balkans, who were taken as part of the Devshirme system, a levy of Christian children. These boys were converted to Islam and rigorously trained in the art of warfare, becoming loyal and highly skilled soldiers. The Janissaries, bound together by their unique upbringing and rigorous training, became a formidable force on the battlefield, contributing greatly to the Ottoman Empire's military success. By the early 16th century, the Ottoman Empire stood as a dominant force in the Mediterranean and beyond. The stage was set for a clash of civilizations, as the Ottomans turned their attention towards Christian Europe, embarking on a centuries-long conflict that would shape the destiny of both empires. This conflict was a multifaceted struggle for power and influence, with the control of the Mediterranean becoming a focal point. The Ottoman Empire's main rival in this contest was Spain, the preeminent power in the region at the time. Spain controlled much of southern Italy and the Italian islands, and they saw it as their duty to check the advance of the Ottomans, leading coalitions of Christian forces against them. For decades, the Ottomans and the Spanish engaged in a naval arms race, each side dispatching fleets to challenge the other's dominance in the Mediterranean. This back-and-forth struggle culminated in two major confrontations: the Great Siege of Malta in 1565 and the epic Battle of Lepanto in 1571. The Great Siege of Malta was a pivotal moment in the Ottoman-Spanish rivalry. In 1565, the Ottomans, under the command of Suleiman the Magnificent, laid siege to the island of Malta, hoping to capture it from the Knights of St. John. The Knights of St. John, a Catholic military order, had been granted Malta by the Spanish crown after they lost the island of Rhodes to the Ottomans decades earlier. The Knights, fiercely determined to defend their new stronghold, withstood a brutal 4-month siege, inflicting heavy losses on the Ottomans. The Ottoman defeat at Malta was a significant setback, demonstrating the resilience of the Christian forces and their ability to resist Ottoman expansion. 6 years after the Siege of Malta, the struggle for control of the Mediterranean reached a dramatic climax at the Battle of Lepanto in 1571. This massive naval engagement, one of the largest in history, took place off the coast of northwestern Greece. The battle pitted the Ottoman fleet against a coalition of Christian forces primarily from Spain. Venice and the Papal States all united in their desire to halt Ottoman expansion. The Battle of Lepanto involved over 400 ships and over 130,000 men, making it a truly colossal encounter. The battle raged for hours, with both sides fighting with incredible ferocity. In the end, the Christian alliance emerged victorious, inflicting a major defeat on the Ottoman fleet. Although the Battle of Lepanto did not completely halt Ottoman expansion in the Mediterranean, it did mark a turning point in the conflict. The Christian victory proved that the Ottoman Empire, despite its vast power, was not invincible. It also emboldened the Christian powers, demonstrating that a united front could effectively challenge Ottoman might. While the Ottomans faced setbacks in the Mediterranean, they continued to press eastward, seeking to expand their empire into Central Europe. Their victory over the Hungarians at the Battle of Mohacs in 1526 had opened a path into the heart of Europe, with only the Austrian capital of Vienna standing in their way. The Ottomans had already attempted to capture Vienna in 1529, but their efforts were unsuccessful. In 1683, under the command of Grand Vizier Kara Mustafa Pasha, they launched a massive new siege on the city, determined to break through the Austrian defenses and establish a foothold in Central Europe. The Ottoman army, numbering over 150,000 men, surrounded Vienna, subjecting the city to a 2-month siege. The defenders, under the command of Ernst Rudiger von Starhemberg, resisted with great determination, holding out against overwhelming odds. The fate of Vienna, and perhaps the course of European history, hung in the balance. On September 12, 1683, a relief force arrived, changing the tide of the siege. This force, a coalition of Christian armies known as the Holy League, was led by the Polish king John III Sobieski. The Holy League, determined to save Vienna and repel the Ottoman threat, launched a devastating attack on the besieging Ottoman forces. The ensuing battle culminated in one of the largest cavalry charges in history, with 18,000 horsemen, led by Sobieski himself, thundering into the Ottoman ranks. The Ottoman army, caught off guard and overwhelmed by the ferocity of the charge, was routed. The siege of Vienna was broken, marking a turning point in the Ottoman Empire's expansion into Europe. The defeat at Vienna signaled the beginning of the Ottoman Empire's decline. The Ottomans would never again penetrate as deeply into Europe, and their territorial ambitions in the West were effectively curtailed. The failure to capture Vienna marked a shift in the balance of power in Europe. The Ottoman Empire, once seemingly unstoppable, had reached its limits, and the tide began to turn in favor of the European powers. As the 17th century gave way to the 18th, the Ottoman Empire entered a period of relative stagnation and decline. A confluence of factors contributed to this shift in the empire's fortunes, both internal and external. One of the key internal factors was the gradual shift in power, from the sultans to the grand viziers, and the sprawling administrative apparatus. The early Ottoman sultans, like Mehmed II and Suleiman the Magnificent, were dynamic leaders who took an active role in governing the empire. They led armies, oversaw the administration, and shaped policy. However, over time, subsequent generations of sultans became increasingly detached from the day-to-day affairs of state. They retreated into the confines of the Topkapi Palace in Constantinople, spending their days in the opulent harem and neglecting their governing responsibilities. As the sultans withdrew from active leadership, the Grand Vizier, the empire's chief minister, assumed greater power and responsibility. The Grand Vizier effectively became the head of government, overseeing the vast bureaucracy that managed the empire's affairs. This shift in power, from the sultans to the Grand Viziers, had a profound impact on the Ottoman Empire's governance. The Ottoman Empire was vast and diverse, encompassing a wide array of cultures, languages, and religions. Governing such a sprawling realm required a degree of decentralization. The empire was divided into provinces, each with its own governor and administrative structure. These provinces enjoyed a certain degree of autonomy, particularly in matters of local governance and taxation. This decentralized system allowed the Ottoman Empire to function effectively, accommodating the diversity of its subjects. Despite its vast size and the diversity of its population, the Ottoman Empire was surprisingly tolerant in matters of religion. While conversion to Islam offered social and economic advantages, it was not forced upon non-Muslims. Christians and Jews were allowed to practice their faiths relatively freely, and they played important roles in the empire's economy and society. The Ottoman Empire's tolerance attracted many Jews fleeing persecution in Europe. The expulsion of Jews from Spain in 1492 led to a significant influx of Jewish refugees into Ottoman territories. Cities like Thessaloniki, located in present-day Greece, became vibrant centers of Jewish life and culture. By the 16th century, Thessaloniki had a Jewish majority, a testament to the Ottoman Empire's tolerance and its willingness to provide refuge to those fleeing persecution. The Ottoman Empire during its early centuries was a wealthy and prosperous realm. Its strategic location at the crossroads of Europe, Asia, and Africa placed it at the heart of global trade routes. The Silk Road, the ancient network of trade routes connecting the East and West, passed through Ottoman territories, bringing valuable goods from as far as India and China to Ottoman cities like Constantinople, Alexandria in Egypt, and Antioch and Damascus in the Levant. The flow of goods along the Silk Road contributed significantly to the Ottoman Empire's wealth and prosperity. However, the empire's economic fortunes began to change as global trade patterns shifted. The age of exploration beginning in the 15th century led to the discovery of new sea routes to the Americas and the Far East. European powers eager to exploit these new trade routes began establishing colonies and trading posts in the Americas and Asia, bypassing the traditional land-based trade routes that passed through Ottoman territories. The rise of ocean-going trade had a profound impact on the Ottoman Empire's economy. The flow of goods along the Silk Road diminished, and the Ottoman Empire's once lucrative trade monopolies began to erode. The empire's inability to adapt to these changing global trade patterns contributed to its economic stagnation. Another contributing factor to the Ottoman decline was the empire's failure to keep pace with the scientific revolution sweeping through Europe. The scientific revolution, which began in the 16th century, led to a rapid advancement in scientific knowledge, technology, and innovation in Europe. European powers, fueled by these advancements, developed new military technologies, improved shipbuilding techniques, and established more efficient methods of production. The Ottoman Empire, in contrast, remained largely isolated from these scientific and technological advancements. Their military technology, once superior to that of their European rivals, began to lag behind. Their shipbuilding techniques failed to keep pace with the innovations of European shipyards. This technological gap between the Ottoman Empire and Europe contributed to the empire's growing military and economic weakness. By the 19th century, the Ottoman Empire's weakness had become evident to all. European powers, once wary of Ottoman, might now saw the empire as a declining power ripe for exploitation. The term "sick man of Europe" was coined to describe the Ottoman Empire's declining state, reflecting its growing inability to maintain its territorial integrity and its fading influence on the world stage. The Ottoman Empire's grip on its vast territories began to weaken as internal unrest and external pressure mounted. In 1804, a rebellion erupted in Serbia, challenging Ottoman control over the Balkans. The Serbian uprising was a harbinger of things to come as nationalist movements began to emerge within the empire, seeking independence from Ottoman rule. The fracturing of the Ottoman Empire continued with the Greek War of Independence, which erupted in 1821. The Greeks, inspired by nationalist ideals and seeking to reclaim their ancient heritage, rose up against Ottoman rule. The Greek War of Independence attracted international attention, with Great Britain, France, and Russia providing support to the Greek rebels. These European powers, eager to weaken the Ottoman Empire and expand their own influence in the region, saw an opportunity to intervene. Their intervention proved decisive, and in 1829, Greece gained independence from the Ottoman Empire. The emergence of an independent Greek state marked a significant loss for the Ottomans and further fueled the growing perception of the empire's decline. European powers, emboldened by the Ottoman Empire's weakening grip, continued to chip away at its territories. In 1830, France, under King Charles X, invaded and colonized Algeria, ending the nominal Ottoman control over that region. Throughout the 19th century, but particularly during the 1850s, Russia, driven by its desire to expand its influence in the Black Sea region, launched a series of military campaigns against the Ottomans. Unlike in previous centuries, when Western European powers had sought to capitalize on Ottoman weakness by joining the fray against them this time, this situation was different. Great Britain and France, concerned by Russia's growing power and its potential to disrupt the balance of power in Europe, chose to support the Ottoman Empire. This unexpected alliance led to the Crimean War, a conflict fought primarily in the Crimean Peninsula between 1853 and 1856. The Crimean War pitted Russia against an alliance of Britain, France, the Ottoman Empire, and Sardinia. The war ended in a Russian defeat, providing a much-needed respite for the declining Ottoman Empire. However, the respite proved to be temporary. In the 1860s and 1870s, the Ottoman Empire continued to lose territory as nationalist movements gained momentum in the Balkans. Romania declared independence in 1877, followed by Serbia in 1878. Bulgaria gained autonomy within the Ottoman Empire in 1878, laying the groundwork for its eventual independence in 1908. The Austro-Hungarian Empire and Russia, capitalizing on the Ottoman Empire's weakness, continued to seize territories in the Balkans and the Caucasus, further diminishing Ottoman influence in the region. By the early 20th century, the once mighty Ottoman Empire had been reduced to a shadow of its former self. In 1911, Italy seized Libya from Ottoman control, further demonstrating the empire's vulnerability. In 1912, Albania declared independence. The European powers, sensing the imminent collapse of the Ottoman Empire, began to discuss how to divide its remaining territories amongst themselves. The Ottoman Empire's decline in the 19th and early 20th centuries was a complex process, driven by a combination of internal and external factors. Internally, the empire struggled with administrative inefficiency, economic stagnation, and a failure to keep pace with technological advancements in Europe. Externally, the empire faced pressure from European powers eager to expand their own influence, and from nationalist movements seeking independence from Ottoman rule. The Ottoman Empire's decline marked the end of an era as the once dominant power in the Mediterranean and the Middle East faded from the world stage. As the Ottoman Empire teetered on the brink of collapse, a new generation of Ottoman subjects fueled by nationalist sentiments and a desire for reform emerged to challenge the status quo. These reformers, known as the Young Turks, represented a diverse group of intellectuals, military officers, and activists who sought to revitalize the ailing empire and restore its former glory. The Young Turks were united in their belief that the Ottoman Empire's traditional system of governance, characterized by absolute rule and a lack of accountability, was no longer viable. They advocated for a more modern and representative system of government, one that would embrace constitutional principles, guarantee civil liberties, and provide greater opportunities for the empire's diverse population. The Young Turks envisioned an Ottoman Empire transformed into a modern nation-state capable of competing with the European powers on equal footing. In 1908, the Young Turks launched a revolution that would forever alter the course of Ottoman history. The revolution, spearheaded by a group of military officers stationed in Macedonia, quickly spread throughout the empire, gaining widespread support from those who yearned for change. Faced with overwhelming pressure from the Young Turks and their supporters, Sultan Abdul Hamid II, who had ruled with an iron fist for over 3 decades, reluctantly agreed to restore the Ottoman constitution, which had been suspended in 1878. The restoration of the constitution marked a dramatic shift in the Ottoman Empire's political landscape. It ushered in a period of constitutional rule, limiting the Sultan's power and establishing a parliament with elected representatives. The Young Turk Revolution was hailed as a triumph for reform and a new era for the Ottoman Empire. However, the path to reform proved to be more challenging than anticipated. The Young Turks, despite their shared goals, were a diverse group with varying ideologies and visions for the future of the empire. Internal divisions emerged within the Young Turk movement, hindering their ability to effectively govern and implement the sweeping reforms they had promised. Some factions within the Young Turks emphasized Turkish nationalism, advocating for a more centralized and homogeneous Ottoman state. They sought to promote Turkish language and culture at the expense of the empire's other ethnic and religious groups. This emphasis on Turkish nationalism alienated many non-Turkish subjects of the empire, contributing to growing ethnic tensions. Other factions within the Young Turks advocated for a more inclusive and decentralized Ottoman Empire, one that would respect the rights and cultural identities of all its subjects. They believed that the empire's strength lay in its diversity, and that a more inclusive approach was essential for its survival. These divisions within the Young Turk movement hampered their ability to present a united front and to effectively address the challenges facing the empire. The Young Turk Revolution, despite its initial promise, failed to reverse the Ottoman Empire's decline. Internal divisions coupled with external pressures continued to weaken the empire, setting the stage for its eventual demise in the cataclysm of the First World War. The Young Turk Revolution was a pivotal moment in Ottoman history, marking a brief but significant period of reform and constitutional rule. However, the Young Turks' inability to overcome their internal divisions and to effectively address the challenges facing the empire, ultimately contributed to its downfall. The Ottoman Empire, weakened by decades of decline and internal strife, entered the First World War, ill-prepared for the global conflict that would seal its fate. In the years leading up to the First World War, the Ottoman Empire had managed to remain neutral in the escalating tensions between the European great powers. Two rival alliances had emerged: the Triple Entente, consisting of France, Russia, and Great Britain, and the Triple Alliance, comprising Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. These alliances reflected the complex web of political and economic rivalries that had developed in Europe in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The Ottoman Empire, acutely aware of its own vulnerabilities, sought to avoid entanglement in the growing conflict. However, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary in Sarajevo in June 1914 by a Serbian nationalist triggered a chain reaction that would draw the Ottoman Empire into the vortex of war. Austria-Hungary, backed by Germany, declared war on Serbia, setting in motion a series of events that quickly escalated into a global conflict. The Ottoman Empire, facing pressure from both the Triple Entente and the Triple Alliance, sought to secure its own interests in this rapidly changing geopolitical landscape. They saw an opportunity to push back against Russian expansion in the Caucasus and the Black Sea, a long-standing Ottoman objective. Moreover, the Ottoman leadership believed that an alliance with Germany, a rising industrial and military power, would provide them with the support they needed to modernize their armed forces and regain some of their lost influence. In August 1914, the Ottoman Empire signed a secret treaty with Germany, formally aligning themselves with the Central Powers, which included Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. This decision would have far-reaching consequences for the Ottoman Empire, dragging them into a conflict that would ultimately lead to their demise. The Ottoman Empire's entry into the First World War on the side of the Central Powers marked a fateful turning point in their history. The war would test the empire's resilience to its limits, exposing its internal weaknesses and accelerating its decline. The Ottoman Empire's involvement in the First World War would ultimately lead to its collapse and the emergence of a new geopolitical order in the Middle East. The Ottoman Empire's experience in the First World War was a mixed bag of successes and setbacks. They faced enemies on multiple fronts, stretching their resources thin and testing the limits of their military capabilities. One of the Ottoman Empire's most notable successes came in the Gallipoli Campaign, a British and French attempt to capture the Gallipoli Peninsula in 1915. The Gallipoli Peninsula, strategically located at the entrance to the Dardanelles Strait, controlled access to the Ottoman capital of Constantinople. The British and French, seeking to knock the Ottoman Empire out of the war and open a supply route to their Russian allies, launched a massive amphibious assault on the peninsula in April 1915. The Gallipoli campaign, however, turned into a disaster for the Allies. The Ottoman defenders, led by the brilliant military strategist Mustafa Kemal, later known as Ataturk, put up fierce resistance, repelling repeated Allied assaults. The campaign bogged down into a bloody stalemate with heavy casualties on both sides. The Allies, unable to break through the Ottoman defenses, were forced to evacuate the peninsula in December 1915, marking a major Ottoman victory. The Ottoman victory at Gallipoli was a significant morale boost for the empire and demonstrated their ability to effectively defend their territory against a major Allied offensive. However, this victory came at a high cost in terms of manpower and resources. Moreover, while the Ottomans were successful in repelling the Allied attack at Gallipoli, they faced setbacks on other fronts. In the Middle East, the Ottomans struggled to contain the Arab Revolt, which erupted in 1916. The Arab Revolt, fueled by Arab nationalism and British support, aimed to overthrow Ottoman rule in the Arabian Peninsula and the Levant. The Arab Revolt, led by Sharif Hussein of Mecca and aided by British officers like T.E. Lawrence, better known as Lawrence of Arabia, posed a serious challenge to Ottoman authority in the region. The Ottoman forces, already stretched thin by their commitments on other fronts, found it difficult to effectively respond to the Arab uprising. The Arab Revolt, combined with British military advances in the Middle East, led to the loss of significant Ottoman territory, including Palestine, Syria, and Mesopotamia. The Ottoman Empire's involvement in the First World War was marked by a dark chapter, the Armenian Genocide. Starting in 1915, the Ottoman government, driven by paranoia and nationalist fervor, embarked on a systematic campaign of deportation, starvation, and massacre against its Armenian population. The Armenians, a Christian minority within the Ottoman Empire, were accused of disloyalty and collaboration with the enemy, particularly Russia. The Ottoman government, fueled by these accusations, implemented a policy of forced relocation, uprooting Armenians from their homes and driving them into the Syrian desert. The deportations were brutal and inhumane. Armenians were subjected to starvation, disease, and violence along the way. Many perished during the arduous journey, while others were massacred upon arrival at their destinations. The Armenian genocide, a horrific act of ethnic cleansing, resulted in the deaths of an estimated 1.5 million Armenians. The genocide remains a deeply sensitive and controversial issue to this day, with Turkey continuing to deny the scale and intent of the atrocities committed against the Armenians. The First World War proved to be a catastrophic undertaking for the Ottoman Empire. Their alliance with the Central Powers led to their involvement in a global conflict that they were ill-equipped to handle. Despite their victory at Gallipoli, the Ottomans suffered setbacks on other fronts, including the loss of territory in the Middle East and the Caucasus. Internally, the empire faced economic hardship, political instability, and the horrific tragedy of the Armenian genocide. By 1918, the Ottoman Empire, exhausted and defeated, was on the verge of collapse. The war had exposed the empire's deep-seated weaknesses and accelerated its decline, paving the way for its eventual demise. As the First World War drew to a close in 1918, the Ottoman Empire, once a formidable power spanning 3 continents, lay in ruins. The Allied victory sealed the empire's fate, leading to its dismemberment and the emergence of a new order in the Middle East. With the Ottoman Empire defeated and its government in Constantinople in disarray, the victorious Allied powers, led by Great Britain, France, Greece, and Italy, moved to occupy Ottoman territories and determine the empire's future. The Ottoman Empire's last remaining possessions in the Levant and the Middle East, including Palestine, Syria, and Mesopotamia, were divided between Great Britain and France as mandates under the League of Nations. The partitioning of the Ottoman Empire's Arab provinces reflected the imperial ambitions of the victorious powers. Great Britain and France, eager to expand their influence in the strategically important Middle East, carved up the region, creating new borders and establishing their own spheres of control. The partitioning of the Ottoman Empire's Arab provinces had far-reaching consequences for the region, shaping its political landscape and contributing to the conflicts and instability that would plague the Middle East for decades to come. The Allied occupation of Ottoman territories extended to Anatolia, the heartland of the Ottoman Empire and the home of the Turkish people. The Allied powers, emboldened by their victory, sought to impose their own terms on the defeated empire, further diminishing Ottoman sovereignty and fueling resentment among the Turkish population. Greece, with the support of the Allied powers, laid claim to territories in western Anatolia, including the city of Smyrna, a major port city with a significant Greek population. Italy, seeking to expand its influence in the eastern Mediterranean, also staked claims to Ottoman territories, including the Dodecanese Islands and parts of southwestern Anatolia. The Allied occupation and the territorial ambitions of Greece and Italy sparked a wave of Turkish nationalism and resistance. The Turkish people, facing the prospect of losing their homeland to foreign powers, rose up in defiance, determined to defend their independence and forge new destiny for themselves. The Turkish War of Independence, a pivotal chapter in Turkish history, marked the birth of modern Turkey and the final demise of the Ottoman Empire. From the ashes of the Ottoman Empire, a new leader emerged to rally the Turkish people and lead them to victory: Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. Ataturk, a brilliant military commander who had distinguished himself during the Gallipoli campaign, became the symbol of Turkish resistance and the architect of modern Turkey. Ataturk, recognizing the gravity of the situation facing his nation, established a new government in Ankara, a city in central Anatolia, in 1920. The Ankara government, in defiance of the Ottoman government in Constantinople, which had collaborated with the Allies, declared its independence and called upon the Turkish people to resist the foreign occupation. Ataturk's call to arms resonated throughout Anatolia. Turkish citizens from all walks of life rallied to his cause, forming volunteer armies and engaging in guerrilla warfare against the occupying forces. The Turkish War of Independence was a brutal and protracted conflict, pitting the newly formed Turkish army against the forces of Greece, Italy, Armenia, and France, as well as remnants of the Ottoman army loyal to the Sultan in Constantinople. The early stages of the war were marked by setbacks for the Turkish forces. Greek troops, backed by British support, advanced deep into Anatolia, threatening to capture Ankara and crush the Turkish resistance. However, Ataturk and his commanders, drawing upon their experience in the First World War, reorganized the Turkish army implemented new tactics, and inspired their troops with a fervent sense of patriotism. In 1921, the tide of the war began to turn in favor of the Turkish forces. The Turkish army, under Ataturk's command, launched a series of successful counteroffensives, pushing back the Greek forces and liberating key cities. The culmination of the Turkish War of Independence came in August 1922 with the decisive Battle of Dumlupınar. The Turkish army, under Ataturk's leadership, inflicted a crushing defeat on the Greek forces, effectively ending Greek ambitions in Anatolia. The Greek defeat at Dumlupınar forced them to evacuate Smyrna, a pivotal moment in the war. The Turkish victory at Dumlupınar secured their independence and paved the way for the establishment of the Republic of Turkey. The Turkish War of Independence, fought with great determination and sacrifice, resulted in the expulsion of foreign forces from Anatolia and the establishment of a new Turkish state. The Ottoman Empire, already in its death throes, was formally abolished in November 1922. The Treaty of Lausanne, signed in 1923, formally recognized the independence of the Republic of Turkey and established its new borders. The Ottoman Empire, which had dominated vast swaths of the Middle East, North Africa, and Eastern Europe for over 6 centuries, ceased to exist. Its legacy, however, would continue to shape the region and the world for generations to come. The Ottoman Empire story is a complex and multifaceted one, filled with triumphs and tragedies, moments of brilliance and periods of decline. From its humble beginnings as a small principality in Anatolia to its zenith as a global power, the Ottoman Empire left an enduring mark on history. Its conquests, cultural exchanges, and architectural marvels shaped the course of civilizations, leaving a lasting legacy that continues to resonate today. The Ottoman Empire may have faded into the annals of history, but its story serves as a reminder of the ebb and flow of empires, the complexities of human history, and the enduring power of ideas and legacies that transcend time.